to stay in Washington, and the girls were in school and their lives were in DC. I mean, we had successfully transitioned them and raised them in DC. They had lived in the White House longer than they had lived anywhere. So I didn't want to make a transition for them just for another year or so. And I knew when Malia would want to come home for breaks, she'd want to come home to her friends. So we stayed in DC. So it was strange. You know, you take the final helicopter ride. We didn't stay in DC, but we flew to Andrews and got our very last ride on Air Force One. We took a quick vacation. We went to Palm Springs. So the day after we were out of DC, we were in another place. So it felt like we were on vacation. But then when we came back to our new home, it was odd. It was odd coming down a different street and parking through a different set of barricades, because we still had barricades, we still had Secret Service, but I had a front door. You know, it's like the little things, like I had a front door that I could open where people would walk up to visit and ring the doorbell, and our dogs didn't know what a doorbell was.
Oh my gosh, you're kidding me.
Because they had never heard a doorbell.
Did they bark a lot?
They started looking around like, well, what's that? So it was just the freedom of opening my own door. Walking down to my own kitchen, I wrote in Becoming about making cheese toast and opening up my back door on my own without calling Secret Service and clearing the South Lawn, and being able to sit in the warm sun on a porch and listen to neighborhood sounds and other neighborhood dogs that my dogs weren't even used to. That was huge. Just returning to some level of normalcy and embracing that again. But it was odd, you know? We really realized how much of a cocoon we had lived in. What a sheltered way to live in the White House. It was a wonderful 8 years, but it was so abnormal. And I think that first day being at a home, a new home, in a real community with neighbors and all of that, that felt refreshing to me.
So often we think about transitions like...
Yeah, that's why Melania, she doesn't want to live in the White House full time. So, I mean, so there you have it, you know. So, I mean, I can understand, you know, I can definitely understand what Michelle Obama is saying. So, let's get back to it.
All the lead up to it, all the, okay, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. But it's really the next day, or in your case, okay, you took a vacation, and then the next day is really you land in this place.
And you were there.
And you're there. And you talk about in transitions to focus not just on the enormous things, but the small things.
I've been having a lot of conversations with people about the power of small, because I think in times like this, that's when people, they're feeling panic, they're feeling challenged, they feel a bit hopeless. And for the people who are doers in the world, I hear them wrestling with, what can I do that's big and can change all this? And when I hear people talk like that, you see them getting choked up in their own bigness. Most of us don't have a big platform. Most of us don't have access to big solutions and big thinking, but we're often trained that that's all that matters, is big change and the things that can affect millions of people. Well, the average person doesn't have that platform, so it feels overwhelming, and then it starts to feel hopeless. I started thinking about this power of small as I wrote in my second book, The Light We Carry, because I was at that point during quarantine and the height of COVID when my big platform was gone too. All of our platforms were gone. We were all ripped of our bigness to the extent that we had it, and it didn't matter. We were all equally average.